Marcus and Lily's journey begins in an unexpected way, embarking on their honeymoon in a cramped motorhome, humorously dubbed Turtle. What started as a marriage of convenience, arranged for financial reasons, quickly turns into an unpredictable adventure that neither of them could have foreseen. The road trip, filled with mechanical breakdowns and bumpy roads, forces the couple to interact in ways that break down the walls between them, transforming their initially strained relationship into something far more meaningful. As they face external challenges and confront their own insecurities, Marcus and Lily's bond grows stronger, evolving from a simple contract into a genuine love story. This tale of transformation and connection takes them on an emotional journey, where the most unlikely circumstances reveal the deepest feelings. The honeymoon starts. Marcus and Lily's honeymoon, a seemingly ordinary beginning, was anything but conventional. Instead of the luxurious resorts or exotic beaches that Marcus had envisioned, they found themselves navigating through narrow roads in an old, run-down motorhome that they affectionately named Turtle. What had started as a marriage of convenience, a transaction designed to fulfill the conditions of his grandmother's will, soon began to reveal unexpected layers of their personalities and a deeper connection. Marcus, accustomed to wealth and luxury, found himself facing a situation that was unlike anything he had ever experienced. The opulence he was used to was nowhere in sight, and he was now stranded in the cramped quarters of Turtle, trying to manage mechanical breakdowns and long drives on bumpy roads. These challenges forced him to look at life from a different perspective, away from his usual comfort zone and lavish lifestyle. For the first time, Marcus realized what it meant to be truly vulnerable. There were no staff members to cater to his needs, no lavish dinners or private villas awaiting him at every stop. It was just him, Lily, and the unpredictable journey ahead. As days passed, however, a surprising shift began to occur. The discomfort of the motorhome and the lack of luxuries gave way to something he hadn't anticipated, a sense of clarity. There was something refreshing about being present in the moment, stripped of distractions, and navigating life without the cushion of wealth to soften the blows. Slowly, Marcus began to appreciate the simple pleasures, the raw beauty of the open road, the quiet of the night, and, most unexpectedly, the woman sitting next to him. Lily, in contrast, had always lived a simpler life. Raised in a family-owned restaurant, she had worked hard and seen her share of challenges. The motorhome was nothing new to her. It reminded her of the times when she had to make do with what little she had. She was no stranger to hardship and found a kind of beauty in simplicity that Marcus had never experienced. The absence of material comforts didn't faze her, rather, it made her feel grounded and at peace with herself. As they drove, shared meals, and dealt with the frustrations of the road together, Lily began to see Marcus in a new light. The man who seemed distant and aloof at first was slowly revealing more of himself, his vulnerabilities, his humor, and even moments of tenderness. What began as an arrangement on paper was becoming something more complex and real. The cramped space of the motorhome, which seemed like a burden at first, was gradually becoming a backdrop for something deeper than either of them had anticipated. Despite the awkwardness of their situation, both Marcus and Lily were starting to realize that their journey was taking them somewhere far more meaningful than they had ever expected. Developing feelings. As Marcus and Lily continued their honeymoon, the simplicity of their surroundings and the unexpected challenges they faced began to bring them closer. What had started as a forced marriage, a contract to fulfill a financial requirement, began to shift, evolving into something neither of them had predicted. The long, winding drives through the countryside, the occasional breakdowns of Turtle, and the lack of luxury were forcing them to spend more time together, communicating and navigating their new reality. At first, Marcus had found the whole experience frustrating, but as the days passed, he began to appreciate the moments they were sharing. There was a certain charm to being away from the distractions of his wealthy lifestyle, and the more time he spent with Lily, the more he began to see her not just as his wife by contract, but as a person he could genuinely connect with. One evening, after a particularly grueling day on the road, they stopped at a makeshift campsite, exhausted from dealing with a flat tire and the stress of the journey. As the sun set, Marcus sat by the campfire, holding a mug of steaming coffee, his mind quiet for the first time in days. He looked over at Lily, who was sitting nearby, strumming her guitar. The sound of the guitar strings, the warmth of the fire, and the soft rustle of the wind in the trees created a kind of peaceful magic that Marcus had never experienced before. There, in the simplicity of the moment, something shifted between them. Lily's voice broke the silence, soft but filled with an honesty that made Marcus pause. "You know, when I agreed to this marriage, I thought it would be a joke, just a means to an end," she said, her fingers still gently moving over the guitar strings. Marcus smiled, his eyes reflecting the warmth of the fire as he nodded in agreement. "I thought the same," he said, his voice carrying a trace of laughter. "But here we are, halfway through our honeymoon, and I think we've made the best of it." It was in this quiet moment that Marcus realized just how much he had come to appreciate Lily's presence. There was something about her authenticity, the way she carried herself with ease and confidence, that drew him in. She wasn't pretending to be someone she wasn't. She was real, grounded, and genuinely kind. As they shared this moment, Lily looked up at him, her smile a little too knowing. "You're not the man I thought you'd be," she remarked, strumming a few more chords on her guitar. "I thought you'd be some billionaire playboy who only cares about his bank account." Marcus chuckled, but there was a soft vulnerability in his eyes as he looked down at his cup. He hadn't expected this either. "I guess I've surprised you," he replied quietly, his voice betraying a hint of emotion he had long buried. Lily's words lingered in the air between them, and for the first time in a long while, Marcus felt the walls he had carefully built around himself begin to crack. "You've changed too," he said, his voice sincere. "You're not just the woman I hired. You're more than that." Lily's fingers stopped moving over the guitar strings, and she turned to face him, her expression softening. "We both have," she admitted, her voice quieter now. "The truth is, I didn't expect this. I didn't expect to actually like you, let alone feel connected." The words hung in the air, and for the first time, Marcus felt something real flutter inside his chest. This wasn't just a marriage of convenience anymore, it was becoming something much more complicated. Their connection, initially born out of necessity, was now evolving into something deeper, something they couldn't ignore. In that moment, sitting by the fire in the middle of nowhere, Marcus and Lily both realized that their journey had become something far more significant than they had ever expected. The awkwardness of their forced marriage was slowly giving way to a genuine bond, one that neither of them could deny. What had begun as a transactional relationship was turning into a partnership, and for the first time, both of them were open to what the future might hold. Overcoming external obstacles. As Marcus and Lily's bond continued to deepen, they were confronted with the undeniable pressures of maintaining the facade of their marriage while navigating external challenges. The growing connection between them was not without complications, especially as they were under constant scrutiny from others. They had to convince Marcus's family, friends, and even legal advisors that their relationship was real, not just a calculated arrangement designed for financial gain. The pressure was becoming increasingly difficult to bear, but despite these external forces, Marcus and Lily remained united in their journey. One of the most significant challenges came in the form of Lily's ex-boyfriend, Bernardo. After hearing about her marriage to Marcus, Bernardo saw an opportunity to disrupt their newly formed connection. He tracked Lily down during one of their stops in a small town, where he confronted her in the middle of the town square. His voice was smooth, and his smile was charming, but his intentions were far less noble. Lily had no desire to engage with him, but his presence brought back memories of a time when he had manipulated her emotions, and his words cut deeper than she cared to admit. "Helena," he said, his tone sweet yet insincere, "it's been too long. You look even more beautiful than I remember." Lily instinctively clutched her wedding ring, an unconscious act of defense, as she tried to keep her composure. She had no interest in talking to him, especially now that she was married to Marcus. Still, Bernardo pressed on, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper as he tried to plant seeds of doubt. "I heard about your marriage to him. Marcus Sinclair, the billionaire. Tell me, are you really happy?" The question sent a wave of doubt through Lily. What if Bernardo was right? What if this entire marriage, this whole situation, was just a game for Marcus? She had always known that her relationship with Marcus was born out of necessity, but as they spent more time together, she had begun to feel something real, something she hadn't expected. Now, Bernardo was questioning everything, suggesting that Marcus didn't care about her at all, that she was merely a pawn in his quest for inheritance. Lily felt a chill run down her spine as Bernardo continued his manipulation. "He doesn't care about you. He's just using you to secure his fortune," he said, his voice dripping with venom. The words stung, and for a moment, Lily found herself questioning everything she had believed. What if all this had been for nothing? What if Marcus had never truly cared for her, and this was all just part of his strategy to fulfill his grandmother's will? But despite the doubt that lingered in her mind, Lily refused to be swayed. She took a deep breath, steadying her emotions before responding. "It's none of your business, Bernardo. I'm married now, and I trust Marcus. He's not like you." She turned to walk away, refusing to let his words have any more power over her. But Bernardo wasn't finished. He called out to her, offering an escape, a way out of the life she had chosen. "You're just a pawn in his game, Helena. You deserve more than this. If you ever get tired of the charade, I'm here, and we can run away together." Lily stopped in her tracks, her heart pounding in her chest. She had no interest in returning to the life that Bernardo had once offered her, the life of manipulation and deceit. She had moved on from that, and Marcus was nothing like him. Despite the doubt that still lingered, Lily walked away, determined not to let Bernardo's empty promises sway her. When she returned to the motorhome, Marcus was working on fixing the engine. He could see the storm brewing in her eyes as she approached, and he knew something had happened. Lily hesitated for a moment before telling him about her encounter with Bernardo. Her voice was quiet, but firm as she recounted the conversation. "I ran into Bernardo," she said, looking down at her hands. Marcus froze, his expression darkening. The thought of Bernardo speaking to Lily made his blood boil. He set down his tools, his face a mixture of concern and anger. "What did he say?" he asked, his voice tight. Lily told him about Bernardo's accusations, that she was just a pawn in Marcus's game, and that Marcus didn't truly care about her. As she spoke, Marcus's protective instincts flared. The thought of anyone questioning Lily's worth or manipulating her emotions was infuriating. He stepped closer to her, his eyes filled with determination. "Don't listen to him," Marcus said, his voice low but filled with conviction. "He's nothing but a manipulator. You're not a pawn in anyone's game, especially not mine." Lily met his gaze, but doubt still lingered in her eyes. "But is it true, Marcus? Did you marry me just to get your inheritance? Is that all this was?" Marcus's heart sank. This was the moment he had to be honest with her, completely honest. He had spent so much of his life protecting himself, building walls around his emotions, but now, standing before Lily, he knew he couldn't hide anymore. "Lily," he said softly, "I won't lie to you. I married you for a reason, to get my inheritance. But what I feel for you, it's real. You've changed me. I never expected to care for someone like I care for you." The weight of his words settled heavily between them, the truth laid bare in a way neither of them had anticipated. The air around them seemed to still as Lily processed his confession. She looked at him, her heart torn between the lingering doubts and the emotions she had come to recognize as real. "I'm scared," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "Scared that this is all just a mistake, that you don't really want me, but I want to believe you." Her vulnerability echoed in the space between them, the raw honesty of the moment forcing both of them to face the truth. Marcus stepped closer, his voice soft but unwavering. "You don't have to be scared anymore, Lily," he said, reaching out to gently take her hand. "I'll show you. I'll prove it to you. I want you more than anything." His words were a promise, a vow that reached deep into Lily's heart, dispelling the last remnants of doubt. With a tenderness that spoke volumes, Lily let her guard down for the first time in their relationship. She took a step closer to him, her heart open, her mind still racing, but her emotions clear. The space between them was bridged by a soft, hesitant kiss, one filled with promise, reassurance, and the first steps toward a deeper connection. It wasn't just a kiss of reassurance. It was a turning point in their journey, a moment where both of them realized that their bond was no longer bound by a contract. It was real, confronting the past and truth. As the days continued to pass, Marcus and Lily's relationship faced more challenges, both external and internal, that tested the strength of their growing bond. The more they spent time together, the more they realized that the stakes were higher than they had originally anticipated. Despite their personal feelings for each other, there were lingering shadows from their pasts that threatened to undermine what they were building. For Marcus, the fears were tied to the inheritance his grandmother had left him, and whether his feelings for Lily could truly be real, or whether they were still a result of the business arrangement. For Lily, the ghosts of her past, specifically her ex-boyfriend Bernardo, continued to haunt her, casting doubts on the authenticity of Marcus's feelings and making her question whether she was truly seen for who she was, or if she was just part of some grand scheme. Bernardo, refusing to accept Lily's marriage, reappeared at an unexpected stop during their journey. This time, he approached her with a smug smile and a bouquet of roses that seemed more like a consolation prize than a gesture of genuine love. The familiar unease that came with seeing him resurfaced in Lily. She had long since moved on from him, but his presence still carried the power to unsettle her. His charm was as fake as ever, and his words dripped with manipulation as he tried to sow seeds of doubt. "You haven't changed, Helena," he said with a sly grin, his voice sweet yet filled with deceit. "You're even more beautiful than I remember." Lily, now more confident in her marriage to Marcus, stiffened in response to his words. She had no desire to engage with him, but his persistence was wearing on her. "What do you want, Bernardo?" she asked, her voice cold, though a part of her wondered why he had come all this way. Bernardo's smile widened, and he leaned in closer, attempting to draw her into his web once again. "I heard about your marriage," he said, lowering his voice, "and I thought maybe I could offer you a way out. Forget about Marcus. Come with me. I can give you the life you deserve, the luxury and comfort he can never provide." Lily felt a flare of anger mixed with disbelief. She had lived that life once, and it had never been fulfilling. The lies, the manipulation, the feeling of being trapped in someone else's idea of what her life should be, it was a life she had left behind. She glanced at her wedding ring, the symbol of her commitment to Marcus, and felt her resolve harden. "I don't need your life of luxury," she replied firmly, her voice unwavering. "I'm married now, and I trust Marcus." Bernardo, however, wasn't done. He leaned in even closer, his voice lowering to a whisper. "You're just a pawn in his game, Helena. He doesn't really care about you. You're just a way for him to get his inheritance. Don't you see that?" His words were intended to erode her trust, to convince her that she wasn't worthy of love, that her marriage to Marcus was nothing more than a transactional arrangement. But Lily wasn't the same woman she had been when she was with him. She had grown stronger, more self-assured, and she knew what kind of man Marcus really was. "Bernardo, you don't get it," she said, her voice filled with conviction. "I trust Marcus. He's not like you." She didn't need to explain herself further. She turned away from him, leaving him standing there with his empty promises and manipulative words. When Lily returned to the motorhome, Marcus was hard at work fixing the engine. He noticed her absence and immediately sensed that something was wrong. There was an unspoken tension in the air as Lily approached, her face etched with the remnants of the conversation she had just had with Bernardo. She took a deep breath and shared the details of the encounter with him, her voice quiet but firm. "I ran into Bernardo," she said, her eyes cast downward as she recalled the conversation. Marcus froze. His protective instincts flared up at the mention of his name. The thought of Bernardo having the audacity to speak to Lily was infuriating. His expression darkened as he set down his tools, his focus entirely on Lily. "What did he say?" he asked, his voice tight with anger. Lily explained everything, how Bernardo had tried to convince her that she was just a pawn in Marcus's game, that Marcus didn't truly care for her. As she spoke, Marcus's blood boiled. The idea of anyone, let alone Bernardo, trying to manipulate Lily like that made him furious. He stood up and walked toward her, determination in his eyes. "Don't listen to him," Marcus said, his voice low and firm. "He's nothing but a manipulator, and he's trying to mess with your head. You're not a pawn in anyone's game, especially not mine." Lily's heart was still heavy with doubt, but she found comfort in Marcus's words. "But is it true, Marcus?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Did you marry me just to get your inheritance? Is that all this was?" This was the moment that Marcus had been dreading, the moment when he had to confront the truth of his actions. He had been hiding behind his own walls for so long, but now he had to be completely honest with Lily. His heart clenched as he faced her, and with a quiet resolve, he spoke the truth. "Lily," he said softly, his voice tinged with regret, "I won't lie to you. I married you for a reason, to get my inheritance. But what I feel for you, it's real. You've changed me. I never expected to care for someone like I care for you." The air between them grew heavy, and the weight of his confession hung in the silence. Lily stood frozen for a moment, processing the truth that had just been revealed. The man she had come to care for wasn't perfect, and their marriage had started for all the wrong reasons, but what he was offering her now was something real, a genuine connection, not just a contractual arrangement. "I'm scared," Lily admitted, her voice trembling slightly as she looked up at him. Scared that this is all just a mistake, that you don't really want me. But I want to believe you, Marcus. Marcus stepped forward, his eyes filled with a mix of vulnerability and tenderness. You don't have to be scared anymore, Lily, he said softly, reaching for her hand. I'll show you. I'll prove it to you. I want you more than anything. And in that moment, something shifted between them. The uncertainty, the doubts, and the fears all faded into the background. What had begun as a marriage of convenience was now evolving into something much deeper, something both of them had never expected. The future together. As Marcus and Lily continued their journey, the challenges of their unconventional honeymoon were beginning to feel like distant memories. They had grown so much, both individually and together, that their once difficult and awkward journey had transformed into something beautiful. The motorhome, which had once symbolized discomfort and inconvenience, had now become a symbol of their growth, the shared moments of laughter, vulnerability, and love. The bond between them had evolved beyond the terms of their original arrangement. It was something real, something that neither of them could deny. Their final obstacle was to confront the doubts and uncertainties that remained, particularly surrounding their marriage and the sincerity of their feelings. Marcus had never been good at expressing his emotions, but for Lily, he had been willing to be open and vulnerable. She had come to trust him in a way she had never trusted anyone before. The moment of truth had come as they reached the small town where Marcus had scheduled a meeting with Dr. Augusto, the lawyer who had been skeptical about their marriage from the start. The lawyer's questions were sharp, his gaze calculating as he tried to find any inconsistency in their story. But Marcus and Lily didn't need to fabricate anything. They were honest, and their feelings for each other were undeniable. They spoke with such sincerity that Dr. Augusto, despite his initial doubts, gave them his reluctant approval. With their marriage now officially recognized, Marcus and Lily were free from the constraints of their past. They no longer had to pretend, and they no longer had to hide behind a facade. What had started as a business arrangement had become a true partnership, a love story neither of them had expected but were both willing to embrace. That evening, Marcus surprised Lily with a celebration at his family's mansion. The garden was illuminated with soft lights, and the air was filled with the sweet scent of blooming flowers. It was a night of celebration, not just for the obstacles they had overcome, but for the love that had blossomed between them. As they danced under the stars, the weight of their journey seemed to disappear, and for the first time in a long time, Marcus felt at peace. He looked into Lily's eyes, his heart full, and whispered, "This is only the beginning. Whatever happens, we face it together." Lily smiled, her heart soaring with the certainty of his words. "Me too," she said softly, her hand resting in his as they continued to dance. In that moment, they knew that they were no longer bound by a contract or a game. They were partners for life, ready to build a future together. The obstacles of the past, the doubts, the manipulations, the fears, had been replaced with a love that was genuine and strong. Marcus, once a man driven by wealth and status, had found something more valuable than anything money could buy: love, companionship, and the courage to open his heart. Lily, the waitress who had once lived a simple life, had discovered that the richest moments weren't measured by material wealth but by the connections we make with others. Together, they had built something extraordinary out of the most unlikely circumstances. As they looked forward to the future, Marcus and Lily knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. They had learned that love, when it's real, is worth fighting for. And with that understanding, they stepped into their future, side by side, partners for life.